And welcome back to Little Cuts, our weekly minisode where we dig into things that we've been watching and or listening to. I'm Terry.
And I am Mary Beth, and this week we are talking Santa and a Hammer, revisiting cannibals, a terrifying short film, a whodunit sequel, a sci-fi horror prequel, and a killer doll who comes back to life.
Hell yeah, we got a lot. And, you know, this is the start of December, and if you aren't subscribed to our Patreon, well, we just did a Seltzer for Life that dropped 2 days ago. Or no, yesterday. By the time this episode, oh my god,
Yesterday.
What is time?
Yeah, I was like, what?
Yesterday.
I put it out today.
And then next week, we're going to have a 2-hour deep dive into Soft and Quiet. We have a lot of thoughts.
A lot of them.
And then the week after that,
it's good talk.
We are doing a kind of fun little spoiler mini-sode on Barbarian, kind of digging into that. So there's a lot coming your way, so make sure you are subscribed to our Patreon to help support us and defray the cost of podcasting, because it's a lot of money for those that don't know.
It is. Please and thank you.
Help us. Help, please.
Help.
Let's get into the Christmas spirit, though, Mary Beth. Let's talk about Santa and a Hammer. Ho, ho, ho.
So, I saw Violent Night, the new film where David Harbour plays Daddy Santa Claus, and he kicks ass.
You can kick my ass any day.
Yeah, there is a lot of, like, he has a top knot. He takes off his shirt at one point. Like, it's a whole thing. So, the film starts off with a drunk Santa having and hawing about how kids only care about, like, video games and getting stuff this year. And it turns into a movie about Santa trying to help a family who is being held, a very rich family being held hostage for money by, like, a group of, like, mercenaries. It's very weird. I had a lot of fun. It's way too long. It's trying to do way too much. It's really dumb, but it's fun. Like, it's, if you think about it, like, even a little bit too hard, everything falls apart. And, like, some of the dialogue is just ridiculous, but it's also just, like, it's stupid fun. Like, it's almost 2 hours long, which is excessive. Like, it really does drag in some parts where I'm like, you're trying to just do too much storyline. Like, there's a lot of it that could have been trimmed out and it would have been just as good, but it's incredibly violent. Like, Santa is fucking shit up. And some of the kills in this are incredible. Like, it's got Home Alone vibes, and, like, it's more fun than I was expecting. It's messy, but it's still fun, like, holiday vibe. I saw it at, like, an advanced screening. It wasn't just press, and there were kids there. I was like, this is hard R. Like, this is hard rated R. Like, why are there children here? Like, it's definitely not family friendly. But David Harbour really fucking chews it up as Santa Claus. It's quite fascinating to watch. So, if you want a fun, like, wild Christmas movie and, like, you want to go out, like, with friends one night and want to go see a movie, I would recommend it. Or wait till it comes out on digital. That's Violent Night. It was fun. Steve came with me for his first, like, press screening, and I was like, wow, what an interesting movie for you to come to your first press screening.
I'm hoping to see it this weekend. I know we're going to see, there's a Gremlins movie party at the Alamo that we're going to see Saturday night. So I think we're going to try to see it Sunday. I'm really excited. I think it looks fun. I'm a little skeptical about that 2-hour rating. I mean, it doesn't need to be much. It's Santa killing people. Like,
no, I think they do try to overcomplicate it a little bit, and I think you can, if you feel it, especially, like, in the middle part, because it's like there's building up to something with Santa, and it's not like a twist or anything, but it's like they drag their feet to get to, like, the real badassery of the movie. It just takes too long. And once it hits that, it's really fun, but it just kind of drags its feet a little bit to, like, really get started. But again, I had a lot of fun. I didn't feel the length too much, just, like, kind of towards, like, beginning, middle. It was like, okay, like, let's go.
Yeah, see, I love holiday horror because I'm not really a fan of Christmas. I'll be perfectly honest. It's not something that I love as much as other people do. So, like, I want to watch, if I'm going to get in the holiday spirit, I want to watch something like Krampus or something like this, or something like Joe Bagos' movie that's coming out next week. Like, I want to see that kind of, if I'm going to see a holiday movie, this is what I want to see. So I'm excited that we have a little bit more holiday horror.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a pretty crazy one for it to be in theaters, like, as wide as it's gonna be. So, again, I think it's still cool to see movies like this getting made. This is by the guy who did Dead Snow, by the way. If that gives
Yes.
you any indication about, like, what it's going to be like.
Uh,
Blood over the
Dead
top.
Snow.
It's great. It's like, it itches a very specific scratch, like, in your head about just, like, kind of dumb, cheesy holiday horror, but, like, is done well enough that it doesn't feel like, oh my god, this is just, like, this is a slog. So... Tis the season, motherfuckers.
Tis the season, motherfuckers.
Tis the season. But so so now we're gonna revisit some.
We
cannibals?
sure are. So over Thanksgiving I got to see Bones and All.
Incredible Thanksgiving movie, 10 out of 10. Love that the cannibal movie came out on Thanksgiving weekend. Absolutely incredible marketing.
Yeah, and I mean, you covered it. Everything that I would say about this film, for the most part, I think you covered. There's a couple things I definitely wanted, so I'm not going to dig too much into it. This movie is Scarred for Life approved. I absolutely loved it. I think Luca is a fantastic director. The warmth that he brings to filmmaking is just... It just fills my heart.
It's too goddamn much.
It just fills my heart. Like, everything that he touches, just whether he's trying to induce horror or induce longing or melancholy, he just is able to, I don't know, imbue such an empathetic warmth into his movies that it makes me wistful, it makes me melancholic, and he can somehow make a movie in which people are biting nipples off of people and eating them before they're like. Here's the thing, I think this movie kind of pulls more from the zombie genre than anything else, because like,
yeah, interesting. I've seen people call it a vampire movie.
I could see that too. Well, it was, speaking of which, so it was interesting because when I saw this at the Alamo, 30 minutes before the Alamo, they play a bunch of weird ass videos, right? And they typically have some kind of connection to the movie, and some of them I was like, as I was watching this, I'm like, I don't know where this is going. But they played Near Dark, which I can get because it's like vampires living on the fringe of society. I get that connection. They played a Lucky Charms commercial, which until I watched the movie is like, why are we watching a Lucky Charms commercial? They played a music video from Kiss before Kiss had the makeup on, and I was like, why are we seeing this? And then it made sense in the movie. Like, so there's all that kind of stuff, but I can see that vampirism. Vampirum, we're creating new words here on Scarred for Life. That vampirism angle to it. But the two things that I wanted to talk about was, I have never been more attracted to Timothée Chalamet than I was in this movie.
With his mullet and his ginormous jeans.
With the holes that are like... Man. He's so tiny. I could just break him with my finger.
He just go...
But there's something so... I don't know. Get you someone that looks at you the way that Timothy looks at his co-stars. Like...
Ugh, it's too much for my loins.
And someone had shared John Waters' top movies of 2022, and this one was on there, and his write-up of it just like cracks me up. He says, "Is there such a thing as a butch twink?" Which, yes, John, there is. It's called a twunk. But okay, we're going to move on.
Twink.
He says, yes, there is. And Timothée Chalamet goes all Larry Clark on us here. A soft trade hetero cannibal who kills an evil closeted gay trick so he and his flesh-eating girlfriend can feed. Is that gay bashing or cannibally correct love? Just asking.
Yep.
But the other thing that I really wanted to talk about, and just very briefly, is the score, which is by Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor, and Atticus Ross. Love them. And I think that this score is so unlike them. It definitely... I
didn't realize it was them until like after. I was like, that's nothing. I'm supposed to think like a little heavier, more kind of industrial sound. Mm-hmm. So it was really, yeah.
And you could see some of that. Like the one thing that I really liked about the score is the way that it builds tension. There are some scenes in here that are truly like really terrifying, particularly scenes with Mark Rylance's Sully. When she first meets him in the beginning, and she's in this house, and you're like, this is full of danger, he is weird, and the music in there just it really accentuates that tension so incredibly well. But then there's a lot of warmth to this score, which surprised me. It shouldn't surprise me because there's some tracks in Trent Reznor's vast overture that are full of warmth and calmness, but I'm not used to that in his film scores. And there are some moments in here. There's a moment towards the very end where we actually hear Trent singing, and I was like, oh, well, first of all, I miss hearing that, but it's like such a tender moment in the film that the music in this blew me away.
It's perfect.
It is
ruined my entire top 10 list. Really fucked me up.
Oh my god, I know. I need to think about both our top 10 for Scarred for Life and then also for something else that we might be doing.
Oh yeah. Oh god.
More on that later. So what is this terrifying short film?
Okay. So if you are on film Twitter / horror film Twitter, you've seen a lot of people talking about Skinamarink and drama about Skinamarink. Please stop circulating pirated links of it before it comes out, y'all. I understand that sometimes piracy is a way that people can access things that they don't have access to, but this is not even out yet. I'll get off my soapbox. I'm not against piracy, but I'm against it when the movie isn't out yet and it's from an indie filmmaker who definitely needs as much support financially as possible when it comes out. So please stop doing that. The FBI, this has all been a joke. I've never pirated anything in my life. But that's a long way of me saying that I actually finally watched the short film that Skinamarink is based on, that is on YouTube, called Heck. That Kyle Edward Ball, the director, it's basically a proof of concept for Skinamarink. And I hadn't watched it. I was it's probably just... It is very similar to Skinamarink, but it's about 28 minutes long. It's on his YouTube channel. I'll link it in the show notes for everyone if they want to check it out. Because that is... I'm bringing this up because people want to see Skinamarink, but what you can do to kind of get prepared is watch this 28-minute long short film that it is, it's kind of stretching the bounds of what we think of with the short film. It's this time focuses on a young boy. His mom is not there, and he wakes up and he is stuck in this house there's time cards that pop up. It's 7 sleeps, 10 sleeps, 300 sleeps. So you get this kind of, you see that it's time is progressing. Time is still progressing, and he is trapped in this house. Because in Skinamarink, we have 2 kids trapped in a house and can't get out. So it's, again, a very similar vibe. You don't see the kid ever. It's all the camera is focused on the TV playing cartoons or corners of the room. It's bathed in blue light. It's just so incredibly off-putting, and it's wild watching, because I have the same feeling when I watch Skinamarink, but watching Heck, it's just really wild how Ball is able to conjure up these very specific experiences from when you wake up in your parents' room and the TV is still on, and this staticky, and there's a very specific glow in the room, and there's just it's such a haunting experience. And I found myself looking at my phone because I was so freaked out. I didn't want to look at the computer, at my screen. And once again, it ends on a really harrowing note. And so, if y'all are trying to watch Skinamarink or get an idea of what it is, go watch Heck. Again, it'll be in the show notes, but it's fucking creepy and it's gonna get under your skin. And it's just this Kyle Edward Ball is someone to look out for weird experimental horror. Because again, this is not gonna be everyone's taste. It is very experimental in format. It's not your traditional horror movie. It's very much based around vibes and sensory experience rather than a narrative. So, again, it's not going to be everyone's taste, but it's this pretentious ass art bitch's taste, and it's real good.
It is. I need to watch the short film because I like Skinamarink a whole lot. I was kind of wondering what was going on because all of a sudden that review in the span of a month has become my most read article on the site.
Yeah.
And I was like, why is this happening? And then I started to
–
realize probably why it's happening. So we need to support independent film, people. So
yeah, but then just support him by watching the short.
Yep.
The film is going to come out soon. I won't say when, but it's coming out soon. So just, hold your horses. I promise it's worth the wait. Watch the short. It'll scratch that itch until it comes out. And it's free. It's readily available. On that note, let's go from weird art house bullshit to a whodunit sequel, which I think
Yeah,
I know what it is. I'm
I mean
assuming.
it's pretty easy to figure this one out. I saw Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery over Thanksgiving as well. It was a good weekend for movie watching for me. Have you seen the Glass Onion yet?
No, I haven't. I was away. I didn't have any time to go see it yet. But it's not like this downside of it, like the upside for me, and also the downside of it only being in theaters for a week is this is on Netflix soon, so I
Mm-hmm.
can watch it at home.
Yeah, you'll everyone will be able to watch it the end of this month, the 23rd, I believe, is when it's hitting Netflix. So if you missed its week journey in the cinema, you won't have to wait very long. And so I loved Knives Out a whole lot. I think it's a great
Yeah,
whodunit. I think it's very smart. I think the mystery is really well done to the point that like sometimes I find myself trying to outsmart the movie and figure things out. That happens a lot with
yeah.
whodunits, and that movie kept constantly surprising me, and I allowed myself to be taken by it. I would say that the Glass Onion is it's not as good. I'm just gonna be honest. It's not as
Okay.
good as Knives Out, but that's not to say that this is a bad movie. I think Knives Out is as close to a masterpiece of whodunit, and this one is probably a 3.5. I would say for me out of 5. It's a lot of fun. And the idea is that there is this it's weird watching this as a muskrat has taken over Twitter, because this is about this very rich person who's an entrepreneur who fashions himself as sort of a tech person that is trying to change the world. And he has invited a bunch of his friends out to his secluded island mansion that he does every year. They go do something wild. And this year he sends this puzzle box that everyone has to solve. And there's this really funny scene in the beginning where his friends, and Kate Hudson is in this, and she is absolutely fantastic. But Kate Hudson is playing this character named Birdie J, who is like kind of like this big star. And then we have Dave Bautista playing Duke, who is kind of a men's right activist type character who like has like a Twitch channel that's blown up. Catherine Hahn plays this other character, and
Mommy, 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 mommy,
yes,
mommy.
and then Janelle Monáe plays this person who was a partner with Miles Braun, who's played by Edward Norton, who was pushed out. And all of them are invited, and they are like trying to solve this puzzle box. And as we see the Birdie, Duke, and Claire trying to solve it, we also get to see Janelle Monáe's character basically take a hammer to the box and just like smash the shit out of the box instead of solving the puzzle. And then for some reason, Benoit Blanc, played by Daniel Craig, gets a box, and he's like, I don't know why I'm here. He shows up at the island. Turns out Miles doesn't really know why he's there because he didn't send him a box. And so they're all on this island for a murder mystery party, and then things get real. And then Benoit Blanc has to solve what is really going on. And it has a weird pacing to it. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes long.
Okay.
And it feels that because we kind of get the story, and then we sort of get a revisit of certain parts of the story. I'm trying not to spoil anything. And so it has a weird pacing issue that I would say. And I figured out almost immediately who the perpetrator was, unlike the first movie in which I was like constantly trying to reassess what was happening. This movie, I don't think, does that as well. And I don't think the cast of characters, even though the cast of actors is fantastic, I didn't find the cast of characters as intriguing as I did in Knives Out.
Okay.
I think Knives Out has like a perfect cast of interesting characters that you love or love to hate. And I don't feel like we get to know most of these characters very much. They're very much a cipher, or like a character, like men's right activist, a movie star. Like these are the kinds of things
Yeah.
that we're getting. And so I don't feel like they're as interesting as the characters, and we don't get that kind of one-on-one interrogation or anything. So I don't feel like we really get to know these characters as much as we did the family at Knives Out. So it sounds like I'm being negative. this movie is really fun. I had a blast watching it. I laughed so much. I think it's smart in what it does. It kind of surprises a little bit in some of the complications that arise. It's just, I think Knives Out is just almost a perfect movie. So
yeah,
but it's good.
Okay.
I can't wait for people to see
I'm
it.
excited to see it. It's just like fun. It's like a fun. I feel like it's a good time for that kind of movie to come out. Holiday whodunit kind of scenario. I mean, Daniel Craig never gets to be funny like he does in these movies.
Oh,
it's
he's so funny in
see
this.
him, like, be funny and like not just like a very strict looking British man, but he gets to like chew scenery, and it's really cool to watch and get to be in movies like that. It's a joy. He's a funny guy.
He's
is good at comedy.
He really is. And I wasn't sure how I was going to feel because I felt like they were centering Benoit Blanc a little bit more in this one than they did in the first one, and they do. Okay. And I was like, I'm not sure how that dynamic's going to play out because sometimes you get a little too much of something. But he is one of the best parts of this movie. Him and Janelle Monáe are two of my favorite parts of this, followed very closely by Kate Hudson. And then there's some really fun cameos that I'm not going to spoil. That just like it's good. So it's a lot of fun. I think everyone will really enjoy it. It'll be a good movie to watch while you might be stuck home with family members over Christmas. So yeah.
And then also you're talking a sci-fi horror prequel?
Yes.
I don't actually think I know what this is.
This is a last minute addition because I didn't know this was a thing until today, and then I found myself listening to all 6 episodes. It is a limited podcast series called the Callisto Protocol HELIX Station. And it is a prequel to the video game, which is being released as of this episode drop. And it is a podcast audio series starring Gwendolyn Christie, Michael Ironside, Kevin Durand, who is not as well known, but we will know him as the murderer in Tragedy Girls.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it serves as a prequel story to the video game that is out now. All 6 episodes are out. It follows these two, they call them skip tracers, which I guess is like the futuristic version of a bounty hunter, played by Percy, played by Gwendolyn Christie, and Kane, played by Michael Ironside, who it opens up in the middle of them trying to capture one of their bounties, who is like this deranged person that has been capturing people and basically giving them lobotomies and then forcing them to eat each other. Like, that is the opening sequence of this story, and it's audio, so all we hear is like, recommend wearing headphones with this one, because the audio is in, they say 3-dimensional, but I could tell, like, it felt like it was around me. It really immerses me in it, because there's a lot of sound effects. It's not just like an audiobook. There's a lot of gnarly sounds. There's a lot of like pew pew pewing and all that kind of stuff.
A lot of what? I'm sorry.
Pew pew pewing. Pew pew pew. Pew pew pew. And after this case, they're like, you start to realize that Percy, Gwendolyn's character Percy, is very traumatized by something. She keeps tapping kind of this painkiller into her spine, and it's dampening her memories, which sort of come through in almost like an oral nightmare of hallucinations that we hear it sometimes. She's dealing with some kind of deep-seated trauma. They get basically hired by some kind of police thing to like go back to this station called the Helix Station, which turns out they're hiring her because Percy, whatever her trauma was, took place on the Helix Station, which is now this dead zone of a place where it's nuclear radiated. No one has been there for 20 years. And someone has escaped from some prison and is hiding out there, and they want them to go get this person back. And so it's the two of them with some very dubious intent police justice people, officers that are all out to go get them. And it has like vibes of, I would say, a little bit of like, oh God, that PWS Anderson Event Horizon has a little bit of that, has a little bit of Alien vibes to it. It's very, very quick. 25-ish minute episodes.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Really well produced. Like, I was enamored with how good it sounds. And considering that this game is dropping today, I was like, this is the perfect time for me to listen to it, because depending on what the reviews are, I'm going to probably play it. But it's good. I'd recommend it.
Hell yeah.
It's the Callisto Protocol HELIX station, and it is available. I mean, it's available on Apple, so I'm assuming it's available everywhere where this podcast. That aside, let's talk about a killer doll come back to life. What did we watch this week, Mary Beth?
So we have started our Child's Play journey this week with Child's Play numero dos.
Yes.
Which is from, hold on, when is it from?
1990, I think. Yeah.
It is from 1990. Directed by John.
Yeah. So this is your first time watching it.
Yes.
Well, okay, so very briefly, this takes place, I think, like 2 years or a little bit after the first one. Andy's mother is now in a psychiatric hospital. He's been placed in foster care, and we're picking up with him at a new foster family, and it goes from there. But this was your first time watching it, so what did you think, Mary Beth?
Absolutely adore. 10 out of 10. Better than Child's Play, in my opinion.
Same.
Chucky is way scarier. Chucky is way more of a douchebag, and that fucking puppet in this one is so fucking good. Like, I was like, that's real, right? Like, it's such a good puppet.
Mm-hmm.
And the ending sequence in the factory.
Perfection. So good.
And Kyle is top final girl of all time. Forever and ever, amen. Love it. Chucky. So, like, Child's Play is scary, but Child's Play 2 is scarier, I think.
Okay.
I think that, to me, and, like, perhaps I'm misremembering, but I feel like because in this one, Chucky is, like, everywhere. Mm-hmm. It's not just, like, Chucky in the apartment. Like, he is traveling places and is, like, much more mobile than he has been, and he feels way more like an even scarier threat. Like, he's not just a doll in this one to me, like, and they make him so scary. Like, they you know, the inherent concept of, like, a killer doll that looks like Chucky is pretty silly, but in this one they make him, like, I think even scarier and, like, more of, like, a human threat than I think in the first one. I think it's kind of comes into the character's own in this a lot, and he is just 10 times scarier and meaner, and I think they don't pull any punches in hurting the kid again either. Like, this kid is, like, put through the ringer, and also this is a really, I mean, it's about foster care. It's 2 kids in foster care who have, like, been fucked over by trauma, and poor kid is, like, trying to tell people that there's a goddamn killer doll, and everyone just thinks he's a psycho, and it's just a lot of this kid feeling completely alone and, like, gaslit, and it's pretty troubling if you think about it. Like, it's a pretty troubling movie as the kid is, like, trying to cope with this trauma, and everyone thinks he's a psychotic kid, but he's like, no, but for real.
Yeah, I think, like, I'm glad that you said that about Chucky, because my note, when I'm looking back at my notes that I took while rewatching this one, and I said Chucky feels like a real person in this one, more personality and an actual character. And I think that this is the time that we get to see Don Mancini inject more of his probably story into it, because, you know, the first one was a story by him, but then the screenplay was by John Lafia, who directed this one, and also Tom Holland. And if I remember correctly, I believe there were some things that were added that maybe Don wasn't too happy with, but, you know, we've already established sort of like the kind of principle behind it and what's happening, so then he just sort of ran with it. But I feel like the script is a lot better than the first one. I think that it makes Chucky more of an interesting character than just like a murderer stuck in a doll. Like, there's some humor. I think we can start to see, like, some of the humor that I think the series becomes known for. I love the point where because there's more good guy dolls, and there's one at the foster home that Andy is living at named Tommy, and there's a point where Chucky gets rid of Tommy, and he's like, "Hi, I'm Tommy." It's like he says that as opposed to saying, you know, "Hi, I'm Chucky," right? And so I think there's, like, more moments of that where we get to see sort of, like, the little twinkle in the eye of Chucky, that he's a little bit more than just a serial killer.
Yeah, again, I think Brad Dourif has so much more room to play with this
Mm-hmm.
one too. It feels like he's hamming it up even more, like with the laugh, and I just think that again, this is like where Chucky feels like Chucky
Yep.
even more. It's like it's fucking great. And again, that at the end in the toy factory, just all of the bits and like the colorful kind of plastic, almost Willy Wonka feel of it versus all the violence. And it like Chucky refuses to die and is like covered in blood and is dragging his body across the floor. And it's like darkly funny and also kind of fucking creepy. And it's just I heard it was really good, so I'm excited that it lived up to that, and it really is a fucking blast.
Yeah, and I love the I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it, and so rewatching it, I was immediately enamored with the opening sequence that sort of like marries a gothic hammer tone with like technology. Like as Chuck Lee is being re-put back together, it kind of reminded me a little bit of like the Terminator or like the $1 Million Man. We will build him, we will make him stronger. Like just him getting put back together. But the score behind it is so like gothic horror that it's this juxtaposition of like modern with like the old that I think just works so incredibly well with the feel of this particular film.
I 100% agree. I know that the third one isn't as good, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's not. I think it has a good climax from what I remember, but like,
you know what? We got a bunch more to go that I hear are very fun and good, so it's okay.
Yeah. And the father's a dick. Like that guy, the foster father.
Oh god, what a wiener! I love when he dies. That sounds terrible,
but same. There's some really good gags in this, but I'll tell you that factory sequence. The first time I saw this movie, because I didn't see it as a kid. I remember seeing Child's Play, and then that was pretty much it. And so I was watching it for the first time a few years ago. I mean, maybe it's like 8 or 9 years ago now. I don't remember exactly, but I remember thinking, wow, this finale is epic in such a fantastic way, just at the factory and the practical effects work. And it
keeps going.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, you did it. Okay, you did it. Jesus Christ, you fucking
He's the Terminator.
He is. But like, and he does feel scary. Like, again, they make this doll feel so terrifying, and I think that's a really big accomplishment to make something that, again, is kind of silly and campy and make it into something that, like, is very much a threat. And not just like in the devil is in this doll kind of way, but in like no, this doll is full on like a person kind of way. Hell yeah.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yes, I am glad too. I'm very excited to finally be watching all of these movies and clear up another spot in my horror knowledge that I am not as well versed in. So that means that next week we are continuing our way through the franchise of Child's Play 3, which will be very interesting to watch and discuss versus this one that I had so much fun in. And Alex Vincent is the cutest little boy. I love him so much with his turkey carver, the little man, and his best sweater. He's had the best sweaters. I want to design sweaters off of what he was wearing. They were so cute. Anyway, so Child's Play 3 is next week, and then on Monday, Terry, who are we chatting with?
Speaking of Knives Out and Glass Onion, we are talking with, and he has a fun little bit of cameo in this. We are talking with Noah Segan, who is an actor who's been in, I think, every single Rian Johnson movie that has come out. I think he's been every single one.
Every single one?
I believe so. And he continues it with Glass Onion, but he also, the reason why we were talking with him is because he had his debut feature film, his feature film debut? Words are hard, y'all. As a writer and director called Blood Relatives, which is out on Shudder as we speak. It's a lot of fun. And he wrote, directed, and stars in it. And so we talk about that, and we also talk about Stand By Me, won't you stand by me. The Stephen King classic.
Oh yeah. It's a classic. It's so good. We talk a lot about sadness and growing up and realizing what it's like to be a grown up. It's really good. Yeah. So get ready for that. But listeners, you have heard from us. We want to hear from you. Did you watch or listen to anything that we talked about this week and have thoughts? Do you have suggestions for movies we should be talking about? Send us an email at scarredforlifepodcast@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us directly on Twitter. I am at MB McAndrews.
And I'm at Gaily Dreadful.
And of course, don't forget to follow the podcast on Twitter at Scarred Podcast.
Please don't forget to review, rate, subscribe, and join us on our Patreon. As we said at the top of the show, we have a lot of content coming your way this month, so come join us.
Come join us. We're funny. And then you can watch the video versions of these, where we make funny faces.
Pew, pew, pew.
Anyway, thank you to Eric Power for our artwork. Thank you to Sean Keller for our music. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Please stay safe out there, but most importantly, stay creepy.
And until next time.